Hi everyone, this is Sacramento Davis chapter of the Zeitgeist movement. We're out here in Sacramento. It's second Saturday again, doing another episode of TZM Street Talk. Today's theme is income inequality. We're going to get a general understanding of the public's knowledge about the wealth gap in this country and around the world and how it affects the psychology of the population.
So as you know, there are rich and poor people in the world. Do you think that this is a problem? Why or why not?
I do think it's a problem because it creates a big barrier between the two.
Yes, I think it's a big problem. Too much separation between the classes.
Vast degree of wealth differences is a problem.
It's not a problem. It's the way things have been forever. You can't have a homogeneous thing. You have hot and cold, rich and poor, summer and winter. It's the nature of life.
I think it's a problem that poor people exist, but I don't know if it's a problem that rich people exist, because it just depends how they get there. If they just are given it, I don't know. But if they work to become rich, I don't think it's a problem at all.
I do think it's a problem, but I also don't at the same time, because I think that people are happy the way they live and they kind of get to pick what their future holds for them.
I think it's a problem, but then there's no easy way to solve it, but I'm sure that there are programs and financial helps that we can assist them with.
Yes, I do believe it's a problem. I think this is something that's been neglected by our government for far too long. I think there's way too much focus on gaining wealth and not enough focus on getting just enough wealth to the people who actually need it.
It can be a problem depends how the poor treat the rich and the rich treat the poor. For us as believers in God, we believe no matter what state you're in, how you deal with that state, how you view others, how you judge others, kind of makes you who you are.
Absolutely. I think the poor people are suffering a lot more than the rich people, and for the most part, people don't understand what the real social life difference is.
I don't know why we have so many who are less fortunate than us when there's so many who are rich and who could help them, but I mean, I feel like they do something about it, but not enough to help all of that, you know? I mean, I think they can do a lot more instead of just spending unnecessarily.
You know, living in a 5-bedroom house when there's only 2 people that live there, you know, none of it makes sense to me. I believe that there's maybe a group of people who have that money and they only keep their circles around. You know, so the people that don't have the money, it's they're just brushing them away.
Even in our own backyard, we have people that can't feed themselves, and this is supposed to be one of the richest countries in the world. And it's disgusting.
Money pretty much dictates your quality of life, especially in this country. And so anytime you have some kind of drastic divide between the rich and the poor, that's going to filter out in the social arena, creating tons of problems as a direct result. Absolutely.
It creates so many bigger problems like hunger, human trafficking, lack of education, all those things. They're all connected.
You can be a poor person in reality physically, but be spiritually rich. So what he was saying, being content with what you have can take you a long way. So learn to deal with what you have and, believe in God that he would provide for you, I guess.
I absolutely think it's a problem because whenever you have a segregation of different groups, it creates friction between the two groups. And historically, we've already shown that fiscal matters creates a huge paradigm shift and creates massive amounts of problems, from food shortages to water shortages to death and mayhem.
Which industrialized country do you think has the widest gap between the rich and the poor? It's probably a lot more of the westernized cultures.
America's trying to work on it. I'm not sure exactly. Yeah, that's a tough question.
Just because of my culture, I want to say the Philippines, but I don't know.
I would guess that America is definitely up there. I don't know for the number one, but I would say we're definitely up there.
Place that probably struggles the most would be Africa.
America, absolutely. I mean, we herald our wealthy here, and we demonize our poor.
I would probably say the United States.
I would say the same.
Probably America.
Yeah, America.
Possibly the U.S. Possibly, yeah. I don't think it means anything because the media anesthetizes everybody to believe that you're rich if you have a TV and you can have an iPad or something, yeah?
Maybe Pakistan, because there's some rich people there probably.
Unfortunately, I think it's the U.S. I've traveled the world and I've seen lots of countries, and I'm always delighted when people from other countries ask me where I'm from and are interested in it, but also at times I'm ashamed of our country here because of the gap.
Ooh, I would think the United States, from what I could tell. There may be other countries out there too that may have a greater gap, but I would think we're up there for sure.
Which industrialized country? For sure, America.
Our country, America, right? Right?
You know, I would say Saudi Arabia is probably the biggest gap, not the U.S.
I would want to say here.
And which do you think has the smallest gap?
I probably would say something like Japan.
The smallest? Oh, let's say Germany. Probably wrong.
Canada.
Very good question. Maybe Canada?
And the smallest gap? Which one do you think has the smallest gap?
Here, our country.
Probably like Iraq, Israel, because that's where all the oils are. So they're all rich there, right?
Probably one of the ones in Europe. Not sure which one.
I'm not sure which one would have the smallest gap.
Probably some like third world country where everyone's kind of on the same level, like lower level.
I would think the socialized countries, and I would think, to a degree, the Canadas of the world.
Norway? I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, I have no idea.
Smallest gap? I think it would be some socialist country, like maybe Denmark perhaps.
Probably the Nordic countries. Scandinavia, Sweden, Norway, Finland.
I'm not sure.
Had to guess, just
Iceland.
Do you think there would be less social issues if the wealth gap were smaller?
I could see that. If people stop thinking about themselves and start thinking about others, yes.
It'd help even the field and everybody to have a equal opportunity at striving for what they want in life.
I don't know if it would create less social issues if there was a smaller gap. I think that if we got rid of the idea of fiscal need and allowed people to provide for themselves and for the communities in which they live, that we would create a different environment that would be more conducive to human survival. You work to get food, you feed yourself so you can go to work. That is not conducive to human need. And having a fiscal gap, it's unnatural.
That gap is what's driving us apart, what's causing a lot of the world's problems, including hunger and water shortages.
If the wealth gap were smaller, there'd be more equality. There would be more, less of a us versus them mentality that a lot of people carry.
Probably people could unite better. I mean, we have more in common, so it'd be easier instead of having a huge gap. Unity is tough, so I mean, we're always gonna have problems in this world. It ain't heaven.
I think there are going to be problems anyways, maybe not social, other problems will arise. I don't think there exists a perfect world, I think there's always going to be problems that people are going to try to fix, but we won't get close to it.
My instinct would say that yes, social issues, social problems would be alleviated in some sense, whether that's big or small, by bridging this gap. It's kind of hard to say because it seems like there's a lot of variables, although the monetary problem, if you'd call it that, is definitely, I'd say, a key player as far as social problems are concerned.
No, because again, the wealth isn't coming due to nothing. People are doing something positive in theory that's allowing them to have that wealth. So their contributions are needed, but then again, you need to have 20, 30 billion of wealth while people can't have food to eat. So it really is, there's no easy answer.
No, I don't.
And why is that?
Because people are not awake enough to know that makes a difference. People are concerned with the petty things in their lives, whether they're khakis in Banana Republic or they got their proper CD. They're not really worried about economic issues. People don't function like that. They're not deep enough. The average person's asleep. That's why there are such big gaps.
Yes, I definitely think so. If people have what they need, then they tend to focus more on caring about each other, peace, prosperity, sharing, and all that. But if there's such a gap, they're too busy trying to survive and get the basics.
people suffering all around you. You can't ignore that forever. So, it has to come to a point sometime when either the people got to stand up or, the wealthy keep winning.
Do you think a world without the rich and the poor is possible?
No, I don't think so. And I think if there wasn't an incentive, there would be a lot of laziness.
I think it's possible. I don't think it's probable. We've gotten caught in these ideologies of capitalism.
No.
And why is that?
As I said, that's the nature of life. You have opposites. If you have rich, you have to have poor.
I just think there'll always be a barrier between, there's always people wanting to strive for more and others not.
I don't really think so either, because I think that going back, there's no going back. We've already got to a point where there's such a gap between the two.
Possible? Yeah. Plausible? Probably not.
No, because there's always going to be people all about power. I mean, just because you're intelligent doesn't mean, you have the power, and just because you have the power doesn't mean you're intelligent.
But it's more than that. We're all complacent in America. I don't understand why. We don't give a shit. Why don't we get rallied up about poverty? One thing that blows my mind is that I cannot believe that despite how technologically advanced we are and all this, let's say, what is this, wealth around us, women still can't walk alone at night without feeling like they might be jumped. It's bizarre. Wait, we're in the 21st century and this is still happening?
No, it hasn't been done. It hasn't been seen. I don't know if we've gotten close to it. So we've just seen so many differences, and I don't know if we can get to a point where we can differentiate from that.
I'd like to hope so, yes.
And why is that?
Because then there would be more fairness and people would be all treated equally and people would all have the same basic human respect and needs met.
There's always going to be division when we have our fleshly wants and our desires, our selfishness. I don't know. Because even if you get, it's all how you view things.
I think this earth is here for us to experience that, because until you've experienced either one side or the other, you don't have the empathy or sympathy for being on the other side, and I think that's what this earth is for.
Life, like you said, life isn't supposed to be this perfect place. So heaven is the goal.
Until we come to a point where we understand that humans need certain things to survive: food, shelter, and community. We won't move beyond that until we just allow for humans to have those three basic needs met without the need for finance.
I think in general we're going towards a giant union sort of state, like a 1984, maybe Brave New World stuff, like a big government. And I think that has nothing to do with the solution of solving that.
Not without something as drastic as financial economic collapse or in some other way abandoning the monetary system.
I completely agree. It's going to take something along the lines of either a governmental or economic collapse or a rebellion of the people in order for there to be some kind of social shift that that people could start becoming more equal.
Again, if we have a huge paradigm shift and we eliminate money, we eliminate government, yeah, it's possible. Is it likely to happen? Probably not, and definitely not within my lifetime.
It would require a huge paradigm shift in the way we think about social structure and economic structure. There's just so many things that would have to drastically change. And and I'm sure that the first way to get something like that accomplished is education.
Do you think that a world without the rich and the poor is possible?
Definitely.
And why is that?
I think that there's people already that are making changes in their towns, in their cities, in their just world around them, and those are the people that are going to change this world, that are going to make the difference, whether it's through their church or through their school or through their nonprofit or whatever it is. It's the people that don't see a dividing line. They don't see us versus them, you versus me. They just see human beings, and they want to strive to do something for that.
According to a recent study, the top 20% of the richest people in the United States owns about 85% of the wealth in the country. US, UK, Australia, Portugal, and Singapore have the highest levels of economic inequality in the industrialized world, whilst Japan, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Norway, and the Czech Republic maintain the lowest levels of income inequality. If you think becoming rich will allow you to escape the negative ramifications of this ever-broadening gap, think again. There is a strong correlation between the societal health of a country and that country's income gap, and social problems affect everyone, even the rich. Educate yourself about the true causes of the problems in our society and help us transition into a more sustainable world. No more politics, just solutions.